let's start with a question. First question for you. If Satan is the deceiver, how do you know he didn't write the Bible? In fact, how do you know that he didn't inspire men to write the Bible and deceive them to do so? Okay, you also say that we're all born to sin, even if we choose to do nothing in our lives that would be qualified as a sin. We live a perfectly pure life. We don't steal, we don't blaspheme, we don't commit adulterous acts, we don't even think nasty thoughts. And we had no opportunity to sin, and therefore didn't do so. According to you, that doesn't matter, we're born sinners. So this brings me to my second question. How do you judge good and evil? Given that you don't know for sure who inspired the Bible and who wrote the Bible even, how do you judge it to be good? How do you make that choice? Given that everyone is born into different circumstances, raised in different ways, not necessarily given the same opportunities, the same codes of ethics in order to judge what is right and wrong, how can someone who has been denied the opportunities all their life to make sound judgments be responsible for their own bad judgments ultimately? That's my second question. My third question, leading on from my second one, we are, according to the Bible, all punished from birth with suffering and death because of what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden. But the actual crime that Adam and Eve committed itself, they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which implies that they didn't know what was good and evil before they ate from that tree. So how did they judge what they were doing, disobedience in particular? How did they judge that that was an evil thing? That's my third question, leading on from the second. My fourth question, you state that Hitler chose to do evil. How do you know? I put it to you that Hitler, regardless of how evil we consider him to be, consider his actions to be, I do not for one moment think that he chose to do evil. I don't think he sat there and went, you know, today I'm going to see how evil I can be, and I'm going to implement my eugenics program because yeah, that would be the most evil thing I could do. Ultimately he believed, I suppose, that he was doing good, and that sacrifices needed to be made. Now, fundamentally, as I disagree with that, I don't believe that his choices were consciously evil, and that he chose to do evil. He made a choice, we judge it to be evil. Not everyone did, and still not everyone does, and many of them do believe in the Bible, but he didn't choose evil. My fifth question for you, Mr. X. You say that we all have the choice to do evil. Really? I thought we were all born sinners. Really, according to your own logic, in fact, the only choice to be made is to accept Jesus and repent. Accept that he is God, believe the whole resurrection story and so on, and then we'll be saved. So what then of a stillborn baby who doesn't get the chance to make a choice? What of a child that dies shortly after childbirth due to some genetic deformity? What of someone who has never heard of Jesus or the Bible? What of someone who has just been brutally treated from the day they were born, born into shit and filth in a horrible environment, and abused and had their whole value system completely fucked up from day one. How can you ascribe to them that evil? How can you ascribe to them sin if they are not given the tools by which to make a choice? And then finally, and this applies to myself, I mean, what if someone like me who just simply doesn't find this book of vague stories from Bronze Age Palestine to be a convincing argument? What about me? I mean, I'm doomed to hell, presumably. What about me? You also mention wishful thinking, which I find quite ironic. You know, isn't it wishful thinking that by simply believing the right set of rules and following the correct rituals and so on, that we can have any blame lifted from our shoulders and cheat death? We can live forever in a happy place. And isn't that just the carrot to the stick of hell? And this sounds to me like the kind of stories that you would tell children to get them to behave. You know, if you're good, you wake up and there'll be some sweets under the pillow, but if you're bad, the boogeyman will come and get you in the night. It sounds like that, and I think from a time when the people were just generally more superstitious, more credulous, didn't have the knowledge that we have. I mean, these days, to explain things. They didn't know about bacteria and viruses, so this was an explanation. And interestingly, along the same line, isn't it wishful thinking that you can take this Jesus scapegoat route and not have to take responsibility for anything anymore? You presumably know about the Jewish tradition of the scapegoat, where a goat was laden with all the blame for all the wrongdoings and all the evil that the tribe had committed during the year, and then it was sent off into the wilderness to starve and die, thereby cleansing them of their sins. Now this is just exactly what Jesus is supposed to do for us. He's supposed to take away our culpability and our blame and cleanse us of our sins. Now this just doesn't work. You can have someone serve your sentence for you for a murder, for theft. You can have someone be punished, tortured, even killed on your behalf for it, but the blame, the culpability for that crime still remains firmly on your shoulders, no one else's. So how can you possibly be moral with this kind of belief, that you can have your culpability in any action taken away simply by believing in this ultimate scapegoat? I was always taught that morality is doing what is right, even when no one's looking, which, according to you, is simply impossible. So there can be no moral Christians, if that's true. That's just an interesting point to finish with. But I don't buy this hell thing any more than I buy the heaven thing. I think that's wishful thinking. I think it's a control mechanism, full stop, as part of tribal law. That's my take.